Hi everyone, welcome to Pandas for Productivity, the show where I bring a business person's perspective to data analysis. Today I'm going to talk about 4 key concepts that will help you understand as a non-analyst SQL code that was written by your colleagues. First of all, look at all the fields that the SQL query is pulling and try to classify each of them depending on what you expect them to do. You are going to see that there are a number of fields which go under the group by clause in the SQL statement, and these are all what we will call categorical data. This means that we are pulling these columns in because we want to slice and dice our data according to these views, and we are able to use them as rows in pivot tables or to be able to pull a subset of data using filters. Categorical data often does not come in the form of numerical values. They are usually a set of finite values. For example, in this SQL query, you have the countries, so you can pull the number of COVID-19 cases by any particular country, and you also have the date, so you could filter it to any date period that you want to within what you have pulled. Also, in tools such as Tableau and Looker, you are going to find that such fields are called dimensions. The other type of columns that you are going to come across are called numerical data, which means that these are numbers. They represent the values that you want to measure, and they are going to be accompanied in your query by aggregation functions, which are typically either sum or an average, or less frequently, you could have maximum, minimum, or counts. In Tableau or Looker, they are called measures. In this particular example, the number of new confirmed COVID cases is a measure, and we are summing it. Since we have 2 types of columns that we are aggregating the sum by, the date as well as the country, you are going to get the total number of new confirmed cases every day in every particular country. If we took away the date from the SQL query, then we are just going to get a sum for every country for all the dates that were specified in our filter within the where clause of the query. To summarize and make things a little bit easier to understand, I have explained the purpose as well as how categorical and numerical data are treated in Excel pivot tables versus SQL queries versus tools like Looker and Tableau in a single table. Now for the second concept. The other thing you need to understand when looking at a SQL query is the from clause, which shows the tables that you are pulling the data from, as well as how they are joined together. Even when you're using tools that don't require explicit SQL coding, such as Alteryx or Tableau Prep or Microsoft Power BI, you will still be setting up relationships between tables, which means you are matching up a field in one table with the corresponding field in another table so that you can gain access to all the other kinds of fields in the second table that you want to slice and dice your data with, which were not in the first table. It is not the place of this vlog to explain the technicalities of joins. There are many textbooks and tutorials for that, but what it does is to augment your ability to slice and dice data by pulling in columns from different types of tables as you need to, instead of having everything all set up in one single mega table that would have a lot of columns. Also, when you are looking at table names, you're going to find different parts of that name that could be split up by dots. Those are the schemas that the table belongs to. When you open up your interface, you're going to find a hierarchy, and so you are going to look at those as the different levels of hierarchy and drop downs that you would go into in order to find the table that you need. In a well-documented system, you are going to be able to see what are the different column names that the table has, as well as the kind of data format, whether these are strings or text, or whether they are integers, which are numbers without decimal points, or floats, which are numbers that are decimal points, or dates. This is going to help you in terms of looking at how you need to manipulate the data or how you want to interpret it. The third concept that's really important is the where clause. This is how you filter your data in order to pull what's relevant to you. If you did not do so, imagine you've got a business that's been around for 10 years. You're recording every single transaction that business made over its lifespan. That is going to be millions, if not billions of rows. As a result, if we did not have a where clause, we are going to have data that's too huge for us to be able to handle in any kind of interface. This is an example of a quick type of query that you can write to figure out what are the values that you are seeing for a categorical data field in a table that you're not very familiar with. In this case, I'm looking for the possible countries that I could encounter within the BigQuery COVID-19 Open Data Source table. It's very simple. You just take the particular field that you're trying to explore, put it in the select clause, also put it under the group by clause, so you're not going to pull a whole bunch of duplicates. In the meantime, you also want to use the where clause to filter down to a really small set of data. For example, if you know that you're going to get enough data within one day, you just want to pull a day of data. So this reduces the amount of data that SQL needs to sift through and therefore make your query return faster. The fourth concept is the case when statement, which you use in order to get your categorical data to take the shape and form that has meaning to you. So this could mean, for example, that you want to group your countries into Southeast Asia, Asia, Europe, and the Americas, for example. Then you can write the logic so that you are grouping specific countries into the specific continents, such as this example, which is not comprehensive but hopefully indicative. This is not meant to be a detailed coding tutorial, but rather just an overview of concepts. So I'm not going to go into detail about the case statement and its syntax. Just know that this is a tool that's available to you in situations where you may not be getting your data exactly grouped in the way that you want them to, but you know that you can possibly try to tweak it from how it's already being grouped. To recap, our discussion today was aimed at giving you 4 key concepts that helps you to break down a SQL query that someone else has written and to start making sense of what it's going to tell you about your business. The 4 key concepts that you need to know are: number 1, to identify your categorical and numerical data and understand your fields, what they are doing. The second is to understand where your data is coming from, read the from clause, and understand the relationships between the various tables that are being pulled from. Number 3, understand the where clause. How are you breaking the data down? Are you pulling the parts of your database that are the most relevant for the question that you're asking? And number 4 is case when statements. This is where you can manipulate your data into categories that are the most relevant to what you want to group together and get visibility on. I hope that this was useful to you. Stay tuned for more, and thank you for watching.